Welcome to the Heartbreak Chronicles, where every story is a raw reflection of life. Hit that subscribe button to stay tuned, give us a like to show your support, and share this episode with your friends. Don't forget to leave a comment and let us know what you think. Now, let's dive into today's story. My name is Jerry, and I am a project manager for a construction company in Seattle. Last summer, my wife Olivia and I celebrated our 26th wedding anniversary. That day, we had dinner at our favorite Italian restaurant, reminiscing about the past and thinking about the future. Olivia is a talented interior designer, and our marriage looks incredibly beautiful to outsiders. But fate always likes to play jokes, and no one can predict what will happen next. A few weeks later on a Thursday, I went to a new client's home to check on the progress of the renovation. This was a high-end project for a client who is a successful interior designer. As I walked into the living room, I saw a scene that made me freeze in place instantly. Olivia was standing very close to the male client. The demeanor was too intimate to be a normal working relationship. "They didn't notice me," I heard Olivia whisper. "Come on, Ryan. Wait for another time." My heart was beating so fast it felt like it was going to jump out of my chest. I cleared my throat before they realized I was there. Olivia's face turns white instantly, and Ryan pretended to walk away as if nothing had happened. I forced myself to hold back the waves inside me and pretend that everything is normal to complete the work check. On the way home, my mind kept replaying what I had just seen. I can't believe it. I don't want to believe it. But all signs point to one horrible truth. Olivia cheated on her husband. That night, I confronted Olivia directly. At first, she denied it, but after I pressed her, she eventually admitted it. She cried and explained that it was all because I was too busy working and ignoring her feelings. She said she felt alone and Ryan gave her attention and understanding. I listened to her explanation and felt both angry and heartbroken. 26 years of marriage, and that's how you get betrayed? I can't get over the fact that she's putting the blame on me. Yes, I work a lot, but that's no reason to cheat. The next morning, I packed some essentials and told Olivia I needed time alone to think. I drove to the small town outside of Seattle where my retired father, Noah, lives. He was a respected high school teacher, now living alone in a small house. Noah was surprised to see me show up out of nowhere, but he didn't ask many questions. He just gave me a hug and had a hot cup of coffee ready for me. We sat on the swing set in the backyard and looked out at the mountains in the distance for a long time in silence. "Dad, I might be divorcing Olivia." I finally spoke up. Noah took a deep breath and patted me on the shoulder. "Son, I support you in whatever decision you make. But don't jump to conclusions. Give yourself some time to think calmly." I decided to live with my father for the time being. I called the company and took 2 weeks off. During this time, I blocked all of Olivia's calls and texts. I need to be alone. I need to clear my head. However, my son Leo did not understand what I was doing. He's home from college now, staying home from work. When he found out I had left the house, he called me to question me. "Dad, how could you do this to Mom?" Leo's voice was full of resentment. "Isn't marriage just a piece of paper? Why do you have to make things so complicated?" I listened to my son and felt a deep sense of disappointment. "Leo, marriage is more than just a piece of paper. It is about trust, loyalty, and commitment. Your mom betrayed it all. But Dad, everyone makes mistakes. Can't you forgive her?" I sighed. "Forgiveness takes time, Leo. Now I need some space to think." After hanging up, I felt more alone than ever. My wife betrayed me. My son didn't understand me, and it seemed like the whole world was against me. In the following days, I received a long letter from Olivia. She explained in detail how she felt that, admitted his mistake, and pleaded for my forgiveness. But I can't let it go, and I don't want to respond. I locked the letter in a drawer and tried to forget it. And so the days passed. I immersed myself in work and tried to numb myself with busyness. But every night, as I lay in bed in the guest room of my father's house, that deep sense of betrayal and loneliness comes over you. I started thinking, shouldn't we give our marriage a chance? But every time I try to pick up the phone, the image of what I saw that day at the client's house comes back to me, stopped me in my tracks. Yet again, fate played a cruel joke on me. It was in the 4th month of our separation that I received the bad news. Olivia died in a car accident. As I stood at her funeral, I was overwhelmed with pain and regret. We could have had a chance to start over, but now it's too late. I've watched our children cry. I've watched our friends grieve, suddenly realizing that I had lost more than just a wife. Rather, it's the most important part of my life. After the funeral, I went back to my father's house. I'm sitting on a swing set in my backyard, looking out at the mountains in the distance. It's just like when I first came here a few months ago. But this time, I was filled with remorse and emptiness. I knew that from this moment on, my life would be forever different. I lost my chance for a fresh start and the possibility of reconciliation with Olivia. Now I must learn to face the future alone, learn to survive in a world without her. This is the story of the breakdown of my marriage and the beginning of my new life. It was full of pain, but I knew that I had to move on. Because life, it never stops because one person is gone. After Olivia's funeral, I decided to stay in my father Noah's town. I couldn't bear the thought of going back home to Seattle, where we shared so many memories. I applied to the company for long-term remote work, and they quickly agreed considering my situation. My life became monotonous and lonely. Every morning, I would work late into the night in the study of my father's house. I threw myself completely into the project and tried to fill the emptiness inside with busyness. The only thing that gives me some comfort is my youngest daughter, Zoe. She's in medical school, and although she's busy, she visits me every vacation. Dad, you can't go on like this all the time. During a vacation visit to the Zoe worries, you need to get out and meet new people and find some hobbies. I know she's right, but I don't know how to start. I've gotten used to this closed lifestyle. One evening, after finishing work, I inadvertently opened the word processing software on my computer. I started writing down my feelings, my pain, my remorse. At first, it was just scattered sentences, but slowly I found myself telling a story, our story. Writing became my haven. Every night, I spend hours at the keyboard, pouring my memories and emotions onto the screen. The process is as painful as it is healing. I feel like I'm releasing those long suppressed emotions little by little. A few months later, Noah noticed a change in me. "Jerry, I see you've been writing in your study a lot lately," he said at one dinner. "Are you writing anything?" I hesitated, then nodded. "Well, I'm writing a story. About me and Olivia." Noah's eyes flashed with relief. "That's good, kid. Writing can help you organize your thoughts and face the past. Have you thought about having someone else read it?" I shook my head. "No, it's just me. I don't think anyone else would be interested in that kind of personal experience." Noah smiles and says, "You never know. Maybe someone will be inspired by it." Encouraged by my father, I began searching for writing courses online. Eventually, I signed up for an online writing class. In my first video class, I met two people: Sophia, a retired college professor and literature enthusiast, and Gabriel, a historical novelist. Sophia is an elegant older woman with a twinkle of wisdom in her eye. She seemed particularly interested when I shared the story I was writing in class. "Jerry, your story is filled with real emotion. I can feel your pain and struggle," she told me in a private chat. "I'd be happy to read your full article if you'd like." I hesitated. The idea of having a stranger read my intimate story made me uneasy. However, Sophia's gentle demeanor and genuine interest impressed me. Eventually, I agreed. A week later, Sophia sent me a long feedback. Not only did she read my story carefully, but she also gave many constructive comments. But what touched me most was her personal response. "Jerry, your story touched my heart. I have experienced similar betrayal and loss, and I can understand how you feel. But remember, life doesn't end. Your story continues, and I'm sure that the best part is yet to come." Sophia's words gave me great encouragement. I began to take my writing more seriously. Every night, I spend hours revising and refining my story. I'm no longer just talking about my pain. Instead, I was trying to make sense of what was happening to me, trying to find meaning in my grief. At the same time, I began to communicate more with Gabriel. He is a talented historical novelist with a deep insight into human nature. We talk a lot about how to build characters and how to build a plot. I learned a lot from him, even though we were writing about completely different subjects. Slowly, I feel myself changing. Instead of locking myself in my room all day, I started trying new things. I'm planting a little vegetable garden in the backyard with Noah. On weekends, I would go to the town library and check out books of all types. I even started following YouTube videos to learn how to cook. When Zoe came to visit me one day, surprised to find me busy in the kitchen. "Daddy, what are you doing?" she asked curiously. "I'm trying to make lasagna," I replied, "but I think I might have put too much cheese in it." Zoe smiled, and her smile reminded me of Olivia. "I'm so glad to see you like this, Dad. You look much better." I nodded, feeling a sudden wave of relief. Yes, I'm feeling much better. Writing has helped me a lot, along with my new friends. That night, we sat down as a family and enjoyed my creative lasagna. It tasted a little weird, but we had a good laugh. At that moment, I felt a long-lost happiness. A few weeks later, Sophia sent me an exciting message. Her son Jake is an editor at a publishing house, and she showed Jake my story. "Jake really enjoyed your story," Sophia wrote in an email. "He wants to know if you're interested in publishing it. Of course, there are some edits and changes that need to be made too, but he thinks your story has a lot of potential." I stared at the screen in disbelief. Publishing my story? The idea never crossed my mind. I'm writing this story just for myself, to heal my own wounds. But now, maybe it can help others? I hesitated for a few days and finally decided to give Jake a chance. We agreed to discuss the details in a video conference. I felt a surge of tension as Jake's face appeared on the screen. He looked young, but his eyes revealed a professionalism and enthusiasm. "Jerry, it's nice to meet you," Jake said with a smile that, "First of all, let me say that your story is really great. It's not just a story of betrayal and loss. It's more a story of growth and self-redemption. I think a lot of readers will find resonance and strength in that." I felt a rush of warmth come over me. Maybe my painful experience can really help others. Perhaps this is the new direction I need to take my life. "Thank you, Jake," I said. "I'm intrigued. So, what do we do next?" Jake enthusiastically explained the publishing process, from further revisions to market positioning. I listened, feeling both excited and apprehensive. It's going to be a whole new journey, but I know that I'm ready for it. That night, I sat on the swing in the backyard and looked up at the star-filled sky. I think of Olivia and the time we spent together. But this time, the memories are no longer so painful. I felt a peace, a release. Jake's hunch was right. After the publication of my book, Broken and Reborn, it received a surprisingly enthusiastic response. Not only did it hit the bestseller lists, it also sparked a wide-ranging discussion about marriage, trust, and self-redemption. I started getting emails from readers all over the country. Some have shared similar experiences that. Some have said that my story has given them the courage to face life struggles. Each email made me feel like my painful experience wasn't meaningless. The publisher has arranged a series of book signings and readers' meetings. What makes me most nervous is the upcoming event in Seattle. That's where it all started, and that's where I've been running from. "Are you sure you want to go?" Noah asked me, concern in his eyes. I took a deep breath and nodded. "Yes, I think it's time to face the past." My heart raced as I stood in front of the signing table at the Seattle bookstore. I saw many familiar faces, some old colleagues, some friends I hadn't seen in years. The first person to walk up was my former boss, David. He held my hand tightly with tears in his eyes. "Jerry, I'm so proud of you," he said. "We were all wrong about you. It wasn't until we read your book that we realized what you went through. I'm sorry we weren't on your side then." I felt a rush of warmth come over me. "Thank you, David. It was a tough time for all of us." Over the next few hours, I met more of my former friends and coworkers. Everyone expressed apologies and understanding. I realized that not only was I healing myself, it is also helping them to understand and accept what happened in the past. Just when I thought the event was emotional enough, I saw a figure that made my breath stop. My oldest daughter, Hannah, was standing at the end of the line, clutching my book in my hand. We were both silent for a moment as she walked up to me. Then she spoke, her voice trembling. "Dad, I'm so sorry." I stood up, walked around the table, and gave her a long hug. I felt her body quiver in my arms and heard her whispering sobs. It's okay, Hannah, I whispered. We've all made mistakes. What matters is that we're here now. We found a quiet corner and sat down. Hannah told me that she read my book and finally understood what I was feeling and deciding. I always thought you deserted us, she said, but now I realize that you are also suffering greatly. I'm ashamed of my behavior at the time. I held her hand and felt the years of separation slowly melting away. Hannah, you don't need to be ashamed of this. We all cope with pain in our own way. The important thing is that we can now communicate openly. We talked for a long time about Olivia and about our respective lives over the years. Hannah told me she was married with 2 children. I wish you'd come and see them, she said, with a gleam of hope in her eyes that they should know their grandpa. I felt a surge of relief and nodded in agreement. There's still a lot to fix between us, but it's a wonderful start. However, there is still a lump in my heart. My son Leo never showed up. How's Leo? I asked Hannah cautiously. Her expression became complicated. Leo, he's still angry, Dad. He thinks your book makes Mom look bad. He's in California now, doing not very well. I sighed. I realized that reconciliation with Leo may be the most difficult. But at least now, I have hope. When I got back to the hotel, I called Zoe and told her what happened today. She was happy that Hannah and I were back together, but warned me not to expect too much. Dad, you've taken an important step. But remember, she said, it takes time to repair a relationship. Don't be in a hurry. I know Zoe is right. This trip to Seattle was just the beginning, and there is still a long road ahead. The next day, I was on a local radio talk show. The moderator asked me a question that made me think long and hard. Jerry, after all this, do you still have faith in marriage? I was silent for a moment, then replied, marriage is complicated. It takes effort, understanding, and forgiveness from both people. My marriage to Olivia ultimately failed, but that doesn't mean the marriage itself was wrong. I realize now that true love is not just about passion, it's about choice. Every day, we are choosing to love or not to love. That night, I strolled alone through the streets of Seattle. This city holds so many memories for me, beautiful and painful. I went to Olivia's favorite little cafe, ordered a latte, her favorite. Sitting there, I thought back to the days when we loved each other and the moment of our wedding, the birth of our children. I remember those hard days too, our quarrels, our final betrayal. But strangely, these memories are no longer so painful. They are just a part of my life that shaped who I am now. I took out my cell phone and hesitated for a moment, then sent Leo a text. Son, I know you're probably still mad at me, but I want you to know that whatever happens, you will always be my son, and I will always love you. When you're ready, I'll be here for you. I'm not sure Leo will reply, but at least I took the first step. The next morning, while I was having breakfast in the hotel's dining room, I received an unexpected text message. It's Leo. Dad, I watched your interview. Maybe we can talk? My heart is racing. This is not forgiveness or even reconciliation, but it's a start, an opportunity. I immediately replied, of course, son. You say where and when. As I walked out of the hotel and got ready to head to the airport, I felt a relief I hadn't felt in a long time. The trip to Seattle was much better than I expected. I'm back with Hannah, and there's a possibility of communication with Leo, even reconnected with old friends. I know there is a long road ahead and many bridges to rebuild. But now, I'm no longer afraid to face the past. My books have not only helped other people, but they have helped me gain salvation for myself. The moment the plane took off, I looked out the window at the Seattle skyline and the heart is filled with gratitude and hope. I've finally realized that sometimes we need to completely break ourselves and it's the only way to recombine into a better person. Returning to my father Noah's town has turned my life upside down. My books continue to sell well, and the publisher continues to receive feedback from readers. I started doing more interviews and invitations that there was even a proposal to turn my story into a movie. But the most important change for me was the inner peace and improved relationship with my family. Hannah and I started talking on a regular basis, and she mailed me pictures of the kids. Looking at those innocent, smiling faces, I felt a long-lost warmth. We agreed to meet next month, and I will go to her house for dinner and meet my grandson. The relationship with Leo is still distant, but at least we've started a dialogue. We exchanged the occasional text message, though the content was mostly polite, but I know it's a good start. During this time, Sophia and I kept in frequent contact. We not only discuss writing, but we also share bits and pieces of our lives. Her wisdom and humor always brought me laughter and inspiration. One day Sophia was on a video call and said, "Jerry, I have an idea. Why don't you come to New York for the book fair? Jake said there's a big reader meetup where you can interact with more readers." I hesitated. Leaving the safety of the town still makes me uneasy. But I knew that if I wanted to really start a new life, I'll just have to be brave. "Okay," I said, "I'll go." Sophia smiled, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "Great. I'll go with you. We could tour New York together. I know a few nice places." I felt a warmth come over me. Sophia's company made me even more excited about the trip. When I told Zoe the news, she looked excited. "Dad, this is great. Do you need me to go with you?" I smiled and shook my head. "No need, dear. You need to concentrate on your studies. And Sophia will be coming with me." Zoe raises her eyebrows and gives a meaningful smile. "Oh, Sophia? That's the friend who's been encouraging you to write?" I felt a little heat in my face. "Yes, that's her. We're just good friends." Zoe smiled and said, "Okay, Dad. Anyway, I'm happy for you. You deserve to be happy." On the plane to New York, I thought back on how much had changed in the last few months. I went from being a person steeped in sadness and anger to a hopeful writer. I began to re-examine my views on love and relationships. Maybe, I thought to myself, maybe I haven't missed the chance to feel loved again. The New York Book Fair was much bigger than I thought it would be. Hundreds of readers filled the venue and I had a packed house for the book signing. When I stood on the stage, while looking at all those faces touched by my story, I felt a strong sense of purpose. I'm no longer just telling my own story. I'm helping others understand and overcome their own struggles. After the book signing, Sophia and I decided to go for a walk in Central Park. New York in the fall is full of romantic atmosphere. Golden fallen leaves cover the paths, and the slightly cool wind brings a gust of osmanthus fragrance. We walked side by side and talked about how we felt about the event. Suddenly, Sophia stops and turns to me. "Jerry," she whispered, "there's something I want to tell you." Just then, a familiar voice interrupted us. "Dad?" I turned around and saw Leo standing not far away with a confused and surprised look on his face. "Leo?" I exclaimed, "What are you doing here?" He approached us, his eyes moving back and forth between Sophia and me. I work in the neighborhood. I saw on the news that you're coming to the book fair. So, I thought I might run into you." My heart is racing. This is the first time we've been face to face in years. Leo looks more mature than I remember, but he still had that stubbornness in his eyes that I knew so well. "Leo, this is my friend Sophia." I said, "Sophia, this is my son Leo." Sophia smiles and extends her hand to Leo. "Nice to meet you, Leo. I've heard a lot about you." Leo politely shook Sophia's hand and then turned to me. "Dad, can we talk alone?" I glanced at Sophia and she nodded understandingly. "I'll go get some hot chocolate," she said, "and you guys talk?" When Sophia walked away, Leo and I sat on a nearby bench. After a moment of silence, Leo spoke up. "Dad, I read your book." "I'm sorry," he said, his voice trembling a little. I don't know what to say. I always thought you abandoned us. But now I understand the pain you were in." I took a deep breath and tried to control my emotions. "Leo, I'm so sorry you had to go through all this. I know my leaving was difficult for you." Leo shook his head. "No, Dad. It's me who should apologize. I was too hard on you. I'm taking all my anger out on you. Because I can't accept what Mom did." We just sat there and talked for a long, long time. We talked about past hurts, present life, and hopes for the future. When Sophia came back, she saw us hugging and crying. That night, Leo, I and Sophia had dinner together. We laughed and talked like a real family. I feel joy and gratitude inside. Back at the hotel, Sophia and I had a little sit-down on the terrace. The night view of New York shimmered beneath us and was breathtakingly beautiful. "Jerry," Sophia said softly, Remember what I tried to tell you earlier? I nodded, my heart starting to race again. What I'm trying to say is, I'm in love with you. I don't know, she said, her face flushed with. I know it may have come too soon, but I can't deny how I feel. I gazed into her eyes and saw the sincerity and tenderness in them. In that moment, I realized that I was in love with her too. Sophia, I whispered, I love you too. We smiled at each other, then slowly moved closer and exchanged a tender kiss. The next morning, I woke up feeling more relaxed and happy than ever. I opened my laptop and started writing a new story, our story. I wrote, life is like a book. Some chapters may be sad and some may be full of joy. But it's important that we're brave enough to turn the next page because you never know what surprises the next chapter will bring. My new chapter has just begun, and for once, I'm no longer writing it alone. With Sophia by my side and my children back in my life. Even Noah is excited about my new relationship. I finally realized that love is not a one-time thing. It can be reborn and can find you in unexpected places. It's important to keep an open mind believe that there is always goodness waiting for us in life. Now, I'm looking forward to writing more exciting chapters not only in my books, but in my life. Sophia woke up as I closed the computer. She smiled at me, a smile that was brighter than the New York sun. Good morning, Mr. Writer, she said mischievously. What's writing? I leaned down and kissed her forehead lightly. Our story, dear. Our new chapter. Thank you for taking the time to listen to today's story. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you have a story to share about your own or someone else's experience, please feel free to contact me. Take care.